I absolutely love the Doctor Who Commander decks. They are brimming with flavour and so many of the cards just make me smile. The decks have so many amazing top-down designs that I'm going to enjoy for years to come. But I can't help but wish a few cards were just a bit different. I've gone through the Timey-Wimey deck and picked 5 cards I think could vastly be improved with a few small changes. First up, Everybody Lives, a great top-down card and the front runner for the most expensive card in the set. However, even just reading the card itself, it has a glaring issue. Let's read the flavour text. In fact, I'll just let Eccleston take over.
Everybody lives, Rose. Just this once. Everybody lives.
Just this once. It's even on the card. Yet you can bet this is going to happen a lot.
In response to your Thassa's Oracle, I picked Everybody Lives, Nobody's Dying this turn. Nothing else my turn, okay great. I'll play Eternal Witness. Eternal Witness, get back Everybody Lives.
Do you see the issue here? It's literally in the flavour text, just this once, yet this effect will happen time and time again in your games. This card needs an exile clause for flavour, if nothing else, even if it makes the card worse. Second up is Idris, Soul of the TARDIS. She's called sexy more than Idris in the episode, but that's a separate point. See, I have each of the precons for Doctor Who sleeved up with no changes to play with years to come. But so far, I've made one change. Idris is gone. See, looking at the artifacts in the deck, she has no synergy. I cast her once off an Alon Z trigger, and she just ate my clue as her trigger is not optional. And no other artifact in the deck works well with her. She might have some useful applications outside of the Timey-Wimey decks, but we can do better. I did want to just give her Cascade after rewatching her episode. Idris is erratic and this mechanic covers out so well, and might even give you a free artifact to exile with all the mana rocks in the deck. But she is also able to see the future, so randomness doesn't work so well. And that's just a bit lazy, given Cascade is my favourite mechanic. I do just want to see it everywhere. I mean, have you seen my channel name? Anyway, I think there's an easier fix that makes Idris all the better. All we need to do is make her exile an opponent's artifact rather than one of our own. It lives up to her thief identity of stealing a doctor and steal someone else's stuff. We don't even need to adjust her mana cost, because Dak Thaden already exists and is better because the steal is permanent and not bound to vanishing. Next up is Wilfred Mott. The card is undertuned in several ways, and at 4 mana we can afford to be a bit generous, so I'm going to go through the changes I've made to the card. First up, we have this trigger in our end phase for some immediate impact. This even makes more sense than the upkeep. Why is he stargazing at the start of your turn rather than the end? You stargaze as the last thing you do before bed unless you're waking up extra early for it. Secondly, I made it the top X cards of your library. This makes the first few triggers worse, but it lets it scale to actual powerful heights other than just finding another mana rock or something. And the actual card capping the mana value you can find at 3 is really a bit of a flavour fail, as while in the deck you usually would have the 10th Doctor as a commander, if he was in your deck, Wilfred can never find him because he costs 5 mana. In Wilfred's standout episode, the Doctor says,
"People have waited hundreds of years to find me, and then you manage it in a couple of hours."
Well, just lucky, I suppose.
yet this version of Wilfred will never find the Doctor. Well, not one he recognises, just the other 2 in the deck. Which is a crying shame. Lastly, to make the early turns a bit better, we can make it any permanent so we can hit lands off it right away. White is getting more and more familiar with ramp, and at the same cost as Solemn Simulacrum and not ramping you unless you peek at the top card of your library and happen to find a land, it's not all that big of an ask. If you think this is all too much, you could remove any of these benefits, and honestly, altogether with this, the card is still pretty underpowered. Fourth is an outlier of the deck in many ways, Adipose Offering. I'm glad weird niche episodes got cards, and we can't remove that emerge, but the Timey-Wimey deck has no synergy with random tokens, nor does it have especially large things to emerge from. But it does have one mechanic where things are constantly falling off. Yup, time counters. I think we increased the mana cost a bit to compensate, but I've added the line of text, whenever you remove a time counter from a card you own, create a 2/2 white alien creature token. This adds some synergy with the rest of the deck's central theme, and I think it still lines up with the flavour. As you count down the time counters, that feels like stuff is falling off to me. Sure, it isn't perfect, but it allows it to feel a part of the deck and not just the first card you cut, given you can't even emerge if you suspend it. I think. Judges in the comments? Anyway. These 4 cards have been rather minor changes, but the 5th is a biggie. Only the flavour text remains of the original card design. See, the 11th is my favourite Doctor, yet despite me planning multiple other Doctor Who decks, which you can subscribe if you want to see, but anyway, 11 just doesn't excite me, sadly. I don't want to build any decks around him. He is a strong roleplayer in the Timey-Wimey deck or any other deck led by Tenant, but how does this equate to this?
Not a single change in any cube anywhere in the world. 4 days and I am still in your lounge.
You play any spell of even a moderate size and then you have to wait forever to cast it. Sure, you can have some synergies with it like Amy Pond and the other Timey-Wimey shenanigans, but it's still a long time when all the focus is supposed to be on him. So I'm changing this one completely. My new design I still don't think is a commander I'd love to play, and may even be too powerful an effect to add to the command zone with 3 colours, but hey, this is just a YouTube video, so here's my top-down approach to the new 11th Doctor. I am talking. When an opponent casts a spell during your turn, exile it. Put a time counter on it. If it doesn't have suspend, it gains suspend. Whenever an opponent casts a spell from anywhere but their hand, put a +1/+1 counter on the 11th Doctor. When it's your turn, the Doctor is talking now. Blocking your opponents from casting spells during your turn has been seen a few times in Commander and tends to be quite popular and powerful. This still gives them the option to use their mana in say your end step to get the spell on their upkeep, but they benefit you if they want to do so with a second line of text. But nobody is interrupting the Doctor. He is talking. The second line will be interesting in the pre-con battles, as both the 4th and all of Paradox Power want to give you the counters. It's also very cute to give 11 a parallel to River Song given their arc together, both triggering on your opponent doing stuff that's a bit naughty. This design isn't perfect, as it's now worse in the pre-con, where 11th is again a decent role player, and now the card no longer works with Amy and Rory at all, so that needs to be reworked, but that's a topic for another video, if you think I should make one. This was a different type of video for me, so I would appreciate knowing if you enjoyed it, and what deck you'd like to see next, if so. And I fully admit these could all be terrible decisions I've overlooked, as I'm not a Wizards employee, and if one ever sees these cards, they can no longer print them anyway. But I enjoyed thinking over a few ways to make my favourite set in years even better, and I thank you for joining me on that little journey. I've done a guide to including all the Doctors in a single Commander deck if you want to see that, and there's more Doctor Who content coming soon, but otherwise, thanks for watching, and until next time.